Hi, this is Bill O'Hanlon. And the most common question I get when people ask me about writing and publishing is, how do I find an agent? Now, I talked in another video about when you need an agent. You need an agent when you're doing a book for the general public, called a trade book in the publishing industry. And the agents are the gatekeepers between you and the publishers. And they want the agents to filter out the less likely to sell books and the ones that aren't ready for prime time yet, or that aren't really for the general public. So the question then becomes, how do I find an agent? The most common thing that I recommend to people, and it's a pretty simple thing, is just to look in books that are like yours in the acknowledgement sections. And sometimes there's not an acknowledgement section, but often there is. So look in that acknowledgement section and find out whether they thank their agent. They often do. Sometimes they don't. They're either narcissistic authors or they don't like their agents. But most of the time they mention their agent. Then you can just look them up in a book or on the web and find out who they are and what their address is and what their contact information is. I said look them up in a book. The book that I recommend, it's sort of the Bible of finding agents, is Jeff Herman's book, and I'll just read you the name here, Guide to Book Publishers, Editors, and Literary Agents. And I have the 2008 version right in my hand here, but there's a version for 2007, 2009, 2010, whatever it may be. It's a massive book, and it has publishers and editors in there, but also it has a big section on literary agents. And what's unique about this book, there are other books that list agents, and you can go on the web and find agents, but this one is really good because it's interviewed a bunch of agents or gotten them to fill out some questionnaires, and you find out how they like to be queried, what their ideal client is, what their client from hell is, what their hobbies and interests are, where they went to school often, so you can find some point of connection and whether this is the right agent for you. And I find it really valuable. I buy it every year. You can go to a library and find it if you don't want to spend the money for it, but I buy it every year because I like, there's other stuff, there's some nice articles in there, as well as information about a bunch of publishers. So when I get an offer from my agent from a publisher, I want to be able to look up that publisher and look up the editor within that publishing house to find out whether I think that person would be good, or just find something about them. It's part of my research. It's part of my connecting to people. So that's the second way to do it. You look into the acknowledgments, or you buy one of these books and you just look through it and find somebody who's representing the kind of book that you want. You know, if they only represent children's books and you're doing a nonfiction book on the CIA or something like that, it's crazy to query somebody who only does children's books. So you'll eliminate a lot of people, and you'll eliminate a lot of frustration because you won't be writing to the wrong people and trying to get the wrong person as an agent. Plus, it gives you a lot of great information. The last method, I think, is what the popular game these days, the Kevin Bacon game, the 6 Degrees of Separation game. This was a social psychology experiment that was done years ago, where they sent somebody a letter and said, will you find a way to get this letter to somebody else? They don't know their address, but they found that it took less than 6 connections for somebody to find a connection to that person. So somebody you know knows somebody who knows somebody who knows an agent. That personal relationship and that foot in the door, that personal connection will get you a lot farther than just a cold call, as they say, a cold query, where they don't know you, you don't know them, there's no connection, they don't know anybody a favor and anything like that. Now, to get somebody to recommend their agent, that may be a little more challenging, but you call on your social resources, your social connections, and anybody who owes you a favor, and see if you can get the name of an agent, because that will do you the most good. If they have a personal recommendation from somebody, they're more likely to look at your material, because agents typically, if they're any good, they get a lot of submissions per day, per week, per month. They get hundreds, sometimes thousands of submissions of people who want to be represented by them, or books that they're asking them to represent. And they're overwhelmed. So whatever can stand you out from the pack, get you to stand out from the pack and make a little bit of a personal connection, or get them to take a little extra effort or rise your proposal to the top of the stack, that would be a good thing. So those are 3 ways that you can find an agent. I hope you found this helpful. I'm Bill O'Hanlon